Hey, welcome to the Tim and Gugabe podcast. This is your host, Tim, and I guess it's the Tim, Gugabe, and Gombas podcast today. I'll start with you, though, Gugabe. How are you doing?
Yeah, as always, not too bad. How are you?
So enthusiastic. I'm good. Gombas, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I was busy this weekend going to bat for Gugabe on Twitter. That's ride or die friendship right there, baby.
Yeah, weird situation where there's still some people who are in touch with him who are sort of trying to repatriate the money. Personally, I'm just kind of like, it's shocking to me. The guy who it wasn't like he was completely random. Like he had some standing in the community, and he just fucking demolishes everything for $2,000.
Yeah, it's insane. Like actually, if you want any kind of future in the betting space, that's like the one thing you can't do is like stiff someone and like blatantly stiff someone. And yeah, I saw he deleted his Twitter and stuff. That's just like such a scumbag move. I would feel like you must be completely broke to be doing that. I would feel like such a scumbag. But even if you don't feel like a scumbag, like you have to think of it from a selfish perspective of like, oh, my whole entire reputation is going to be ruined by doing this. Like I might as well just pay this guy. But yeah, I mean, it was even sweeter. Yeah, it was never Pfeiffer. It was even sweeter. It was on a great cash like Hermanson.
I don't know the guy, so I won't speak to that. But just what I read, it was clearly an agreement happened. But I will say another moral of the story: don't always just like be like doing business like that with people online. Like I don't really do that. You know what I mean? So like, I guess that's something not that you did anything wrong, Gugabe. I'm just saying, like, you can get scammed. That's all I'm saying. But
this is classic victim blaming right here.
I do agree, but also, like, again, I had a lot more than that.
I'm just saying be careful, you know?
I had a lot more than that in the Manson. Like, again, I added an extra 10% of my position on because he was talking shit kind of thing. It wasn't like this was my only Manson bet.
Are you balling that big these days?
Sometimes.
Hell yeah, I love that.
They're annoying, but like hopefully something manages to track them down. I still got some contact with them, so you can't run too far. I was surprised by how hard the community rallied. Like I've not done that much, and like people are just like doing some fucking black hat shit to get this guy to pay, and I'm just like, holy shit, good work, guys.
People get mad when it comes to like not paying or anything, but. Well, let's talk about the last event, Hermanson Pfeiffer. I think we all liked Hermanson in that spot. Pfeiffer honestly turned up decent. I didn't he could have won that fight, you know, like he had some success, but I feel like if you had told me it was 5-round striking, I think Hermanson probably would have won even cleaner than he did, you know. But I still thought Hermanson won the fight, but Pfeiffer that's why the line was off. It's like we knew Hermanson could do that. We didn't know how well Pfeiffer could do that. And I also thought Hermanson's durability was being a little bit like unrightfully questioned. Like he's a pretty fucking tough guy, like overall. But yeah, I think we all liked that he cashed. Ige just killed Feely, right? I like kind of
pretty much. It was like evenish, but like massive power disparity. I was happy to find the cash under a plus on Feely. I feel like historically, it's just like both those guys have just had the most insane underprices and go to absolute war, and just nobody dies. Like, so it's nice to actually get paid for once.
Yeah.
I feel like with Hanson Pfeiffer, it's like Pfeiffer, impressed me a little bit. But I felt like Reline, probably make like evens. Like it wasn't like Pfeiffer melted, and like if his leg hadn't been compromised quite that badly, like round 3 and round 4, he almost did pull it back. Like one slightly better moment in round 3, or like I think through like 4 minutes of round 4, I had scored the round 4 to be honest. Like then Hermanson just pulled away hard in the last minute. Solid.
That Polish guy was just a little overrated. It seemed.
I had a Topuria decision. I was just like, one guy can mix the marshals, the other guy cannot. Like Brystick was the most limited. No, not yet. I'm waiting.
Rodriguez, Rodriguez kind of just beat up Tavares a bit. Good performance by him. Michael Johnson, just like I watched this in and out, he just kind of dominated, right?
Easy.
Last minute, he just randomly collapses, which was
hilarious.
I rewatched it. I think he like twists his ankle or something, because it makes no sense why he goes, like, nothing hits him. He's like just catching his face, going down. It's like we watched the last minute of that fight.
I think he's just used to doing like stupid shit in fights that his brain physically wouldn't allow him to go a full 15 minutes without doing something dumb. So he had to like make something up.
Yeah. It just makes no sense, because like he's on top of half guard. He gets like kind of kicked off the guy. Like it's like the guy hits him like the shoulder, and like he doesn't get hurt. He doesn't get hit in the face. But suddenly he's covering his face and holding. Genuinely perplexing. I have no idea what happens to him in that last minute. But yeah, look good. Flowers fought like the dumbest possible too, which helped a lot.
Yeah. Good on Gombas. Gombas was like messaging, like me and Gombas will like message back, and like the last like 3 months, I just like had no opinions on Vieira Petrosian at all. He was just like yelling at me aggressively that Vieira is going to dominate, and I was kind of like, all right, credit to him, he did. So I'm sure you're happy that hit for you, Gombas.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out about that fight that no one talked about is the whole narrative was like, oh, Vieira gets tired. He faced zero resistance and was going to be look completely fresh at the end of that. Like if that went into round 2, I was literally not even sweating a little bit.
Yeah, he could have probably got takedowns again, but Practice Giles. I mean, like
awful.
Dominating minus 900 live, and then just gets murdered. Of course, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like Giles, like could be a lot better than he is, I feel, but he's been finished in his last 7 losses, and you can never trust a guy like that, because just like any moment you can be winning and then just lose. So yeah. Oki, Kuamba, whatever. Lukbunmi, Brazil kind of ended up being a little more competitive than I thought it would be, but like. Lukbunmi won rightfully. Prochnio and Clark. You were on Prochnio, weren't you, Gugabe?
I had a little bit of like finished stuff. No, not much money on. I just thought, Clark barely grappled. Clark's hard to me because like I'm a Clark truther, and I honestly think that Clark, if he put it together, has all the tools to be a top 5 light heavyweight. Do I ever think he's ever going to actually do it? It's like Juan Adams kind of a thing, where it's like, there are actually very good tools here. Like, he's a plus athlete. He can mess. It's light heavyweight. Like, Devin Clark on a good day could be Jerry. Like, Jerry has no fucking get-ups. Like, again, Devin Clark would inevitably just not shoot. But, like, there are top 5 light heavyweights where Devin Clark could beat them. But he's just an idiot. And also, he's, like, hilariously unlucky with his knockdowns. Like, he has hit people very, very, very hard and hurt them very, very badly, and they just don't die. Like, him against Rakic, him against Kennedy, him against, like, it's crazy how he's, like, knocked people down badly. They just get up again, and it's, like, it has to be, it's just a variance of why. I agree Devin Clark has many failings, but I genuinely think Devin Clark has had, like, a 5th percentile career of somebody of his gifts. Like, I feel like it's one of these things where, like, if he just runs a bit better early, he probably just has a lot more confidence. He just does a lot better.
Fair enough. Griffin and Wells. Wells is like my least favorite fighter to watch. Like I've been kind of like making this take. He just runs, explodes, runs. And like Griffin, I was very torn on this fight. Like I thought it was dog or pass. I was very torn. Griffin could have like dominated that fight. I feel like if he just actually went after him more, and it was kind of frustrating because like Wells could have got that decision, and like I feel like I don't know. Like, Gombas, you get frustrated watching Wells. He just runs away the entire time, and it's so boring. I'm like, I don't know.
I get frustrated that I haven't successfully been able to fade him. That's what really drives me nuts, because, like, I bet Semmelsberger against him, and he, like, knocked him down twice and got controlled for, like, the other 14 minutes and, like, lost the split. It was, like, the weirdest thing ever. I bet Court McGee against him, and he, like, died instantly. I was so close to betting Griffin, and I passed, and I was like, damn it. But then, I was like, it's such a close fight. Like if Wells got the decision, I would have been like, why did I bet that? It was going to be, Wells was going to look like a slight favorite, whatever. But he's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Go
on. Gugabe.
That was a weird fight to me where I was just like, I mean, I agree Griffin won, and like if Griffin just put like slightly more effort, he probably could have like run away with it properly. But also if Wells like completes one takedown, it's just like he probably suddenly becomes minus 300. So it's just like, like realigning that fight, I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's whatever. Guskov knocked out Palga. That was kind of funny. Emil and Garcia, that was just kind of like Emil just like they almost both knocked each other. I thought like a double knockout was about to happen at one point. There was like an exchange where they were like both half conscious swinging.
It was nice to get another 2.5. Like the other 2.5 was plus 180 or something. And I was after round one, I was like, this is just going to be a very triggering loss on the 2.5. And then the fight he actually died. Like, it was just like classic.
Yeah.
UFC betting things.
I liked Hermanson and Marcos like on this card, and I was on like Marcos too at an earlier line. It was frustrating because I thought he like looked like a massive favorite, and that was. I don't start that much shit on Twitter. I feel like you guys are probably a little more shithead than me. Like, no, I'm not saying you know, but I feel like I don't start that much shit. But I will call out when a fighter quits, and he quit. Like he absolutely quit, in my opinion. But Magic's the ultimate shithead out of like the quad that we have going here.
Yeah, I've calmed down a lot. I've calmed down a lot in my older age.
Okay, yeah.
I used to be
was way worse a few years ago.
Yeah,
for sure. But
I mean, I already quit, but also like I feel like in that position, it's like the what you call it, fucking Australian, who quit against the Australian guy and just got hit in the back of the head and Tim lost.
Oh,
of Carolina.
Oh yeah.
It was such a quit job too.
I mean, I agree it's a quit job, but also it's good to see fighters actually trying to maximize their shit because I feel like half the time you get on UFC and the fighters are just like not doing anything whatsoever to maximize their chance of winning. And it's like, yeah, the rules are set up. Like if you're Aori, you quit it. Like as a rational human being, do you not?
All right, I agree. I think there should be like more rules in place to not allow that to happen, you know, because it's like, when do you see someone up? Like if that was Marcos and he got eye poked, like he wouldn't quit. Like we've never really seen that ever happen. The only time I can think of where someone quit and won, but it was going downhill for him still was Roman. Versus Espin. But it was also like he was really tired, and I don't think he wanted anymore at the same time. But he was up. But like it's very rare. Like everyone who ends up quitting, it benefits them. I've never seen someone quit that didn't, where it hurt them, right? So I think there should be some type of rule in place. Even if it goes like a round and someone's down and they quit, maybe like a score. I don't know. There should be something. I feel like the current system is not working because fighters are getting no contests, and it's kind of annoying.
I mean, even with Romanov, like he did win the decision, but like live, it was actually like
not going well.
A lot of people actually scored, like had it like evens or like 1-1 or like.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Romanov was like 30-25.
It wasn't like if Marcos had quit in this situation where he was, because someone made that point on my Twitter. I was like, I agree, but also I don't think it was like he wasn't dominating, and he started to he was losing at that moment of the fight. Anyway, let's get to this card, UFC 298. Kind of wish Magic was here so he could talk about his boy, but Volkanovski and Topuria, coming off that knockout loss to Makhachev, this line's really almost a pick'em slight towards Volk. Gugabe and I have talked about this fight because it's really intriguing. Gombas, I'll give you the floor to maybe give like your opinions because people have kind of heard ours on it, but we'll like repeat them again. But what are you thinking here? Do you think there's any value on anyone, or are you just kind of like, this is a really, really close fight, I don't really want to be involved? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I like Topuria here. I've backed him in every single one of his UFC fights besides the Emmett fight because he was already like a massive favorite. But I just kind of think it's a changing of the guard type spot. I don't like how Volkanovski went up to 55, coming back down to 45, up to 55, back down to 45, coming off a knockout loss. He's 35. He's openly talking about, his mental struggles. Topuria still has that confidence that only comes with being undefeated. I think he's a crisper striker. I think he's a really good submission grappler. Obviously there's win conditions for Volk, of course. Like he has some leg kick upside. He's really hard to deal with. He's great volume. He's hard to deal with in the grappling. I just kind of think Topuria is going to gonna touch his chin at times. I don't trust his durability at this point in his career. I think Topuria is gonna win.
Gugabe, what do you think?
Gone to my head Volkanovski, but I'd rather wait like 5 minutes to see how he's kind of moving and if he just gets flat. I think Topuria is going to be quite flat-loaded, so I'm just like, even if Volkanovski's having a good day, there's whatever chance Topuria just takes round 1 or kills him in another round, or we discover he's suddenly old. Like I just think Volkanovski's going to take a while to recover. I'd rather get like minus 200 and like a comfortable Volkanovski after like, you know, even if Volkanovski wins round 1 and I just see he's won it, I'm like, all right, I'd rather take minus 200 then, as opposed to taking minus 140 completely blind. Topuria seems to have a high. I think Topuria is very high floor. Again, the Emmett performance was incredible. I think the Emmett performance is the best thing he's ever done by high margin because like there was reasonable doubts about cardio and whatnot. But you know, he could sustain being an absolutely explosive ridiculousness for 25 minutes, which is good on him. For me, pre-fight's a pass right now. I saw there was an opener on like Topuria KO at like plus 500 or something. Like the one site over here opened up props and like made Topuria submission his most common form of victory, which just seems off. So I took a bunch of the biggest sort of off-market KO. But no real strong opinion. Like gun to my head, Volkanovski, but like 55-60% seems fine to me.
Yeah, I think I'm really torn on the fight. Like I've historically liked both of these guys a lot, you know, and I just feel like both guys. Where I'm struggling is I feel like both guys cause problems for one another. Like I really think like I really like Topuria's inside boxing. Like he's got a lot of power, and I feel like Volkanovski's been going against a lot of like volume guys who he can just kind of out slick. Like Holloway's not going to dead you with one shot, you know, and the couple times like we've seen him hurt now, you know, like with Makhachev, and then even like Mendez and other fights, like back when he fought some guys who would just kind of go after him aggressively, but Mendez didn't have the cardio to keep it up. Like Mendez hurt him, and I feel like Topuria can hurt him, and I'm like, so I'm pretty nervous for Volk, but at the same time, and like maybe Gombas, you can respond to this. Are you a little worried because like this is by far the best volume striker Topuria's faced? It's, you know, like it just is. You can look through the record. So Topuria kept up a great pace versus Emmett, but Emmett kind of just wings some shots, and like he's not really a consistent volume guy. And I'm a little, and Volkanovski can go, like, you know, even if you're picking Topuria, you know Volkanovski can fight hard for 25 minutes, put up a lot of pace. Are you maybe a little concerned that this is as much offense that Topuria will face? Because I think that's my concern. That's where I'm a little worried about Topuria. But it's a great fight, and I see it as like a very competitive fight.
Yeah, I don't know if concerned or worried is the word I would use, but I also think that because Volkanovski is going to throw so much, it's going to also create opportunities for Topuria to counter him. Yeah. And I've seen – what are you slamming your –
mute your keyboard.
I just feel like I've seen Volkanovski in situations kind of – I think he even did it against Yair, who like – I mean, you were in the same boat as I was, where we both thought Volkanovski was going to kill Yair, which he did, but he kind of overextended himself at times, like even got countered by guys like Yair, where I feel like if the more he throws, the more opportunity that's going to create. Like, obviously, generally speaking, volume is good, but I think Topuria is just so crisp and such a good counter striker and just striker in general that Volkanovski's going to fall into one of his traps.
Yeah, I'm torn, man. Like
it's a great fight.
It's a great fight. Like I'm really just like I don't know. I also just don't know what to expect from Volkanovski after that Islam, because like that was a pretty bad knockout. Like I mean, the Leon Usman one was way worse, and we saw Usman kind of didn't look exactly himself later. So I'm kind of worried something like that happens with Volk. But it's a great fight. Going to the co-main event, Whitaker and Costa. Gugabe, I'll throw this one to you. The line's kind of blowing up a little bit. It looks like it was like minus 210, I think, when I checked earlier. Now it's like minus 280. Or maybe not that. Minus 225 to minus 273. So it's bumping up a little bit. But what? Do you have any strong opinions here, Gugabe?
Not really. I've always been skeptical on Whitaker being massive favourite, but also Costa just seems to be a complete I just don't know what we're getting from Paulo Costa. Like, he doesn't fight that much. When he does, it's weird, and he's fought very inconsistently, and he shows up out of shape. And I don't know. I just think it's a pass. Like, I've never really been an enthusiast about Whittaker minus 200, particularly against like a big hitter or a big athletic kind of specimen. I think it's a pass.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Just I do think Whittaker is so much better defensively. Like, he defends strikes at 60% and Costa's at 47, and I feel like he's the more technical striker for sure. And like, you know, we saw what he did to Vettori. We saw what Vettori did to Costa. MMA math doesn't always work, but I do think like the striking stats probably show Whittaker will be ahead. But Whittaker's chin just concerns me. Like, we've seen, like, he's been knocked out a few times, but even when he hasn't been knocked out, he's been dropped in several fights. So, and he just got finished again. So striking's high variance enough to where Costa could land something. But the fact that Costa like didn't knock out Rockhold, I'm like, I can't really pick him to knock out Whittaker, you know, like at a super high clip. Like, it could happen, but I feel like if Costa doesn't knock him out, Whittaker will probably, you know, win, moderately outstrike him to a decision. Gombas, what are you thinking? Do you think there's any value on the dog here, or are you kind of passing?
No, I'm a little annoyed. I missed the early Whittaker line because I think that this is a really good matchup for him.
Yeah.
And this might be controversial, but I feel like Paulo Costa was never that good. Like, if you look
Things don't age well.
he has one good performance, in my opinion. It was the Yoel Romero fight. And I feel like that was more of an outlier than it is like his consistency. Even against geriatric Rockhold, like he made, like I bet him there and he still made me nervous at times. And like I bet Vettori against him. Vettori beat him. He had that whole weird thing with missing weight. And then, you know, the fight before that, he got dominated by Adesanya. He has one win in the last like 4 years or something like that. Like, he's just very inactive. And Whittaker, at the time he lost to Duplessis, everyone was like, oh, Whittaker lost to Duplessis, like he's done. He's minus 300, whatever. It just turns out that Duplessis is like the champ. Like he actually turned out to be better than a lot of us thought he was. So I don't know. I think the line's justified. I don't think Costa is that good, and I'm not encouraged by the fact that he basically never fights. So I'm picking Whittaker as well.
I also just don't like that he got landed 154 times to the head against Marvin Vettori. You know, it's just like, that's not.
Where's Whittaker like completely dominated Vettori?
Yeah. I think
but even Whittaker,
like, Whittaker's gonna have to show up really shot for like him to not like, because otherwise he's just gonna get like off on the numbers. I think. What were you gonna say? Sorry for cutting you off.
Even Whittaker Vettori, bro, like round one when Vettori was still coming forward, it was fine. It was only when Vettori kind of got fear of God, like after round one, Vettori kind of got scared and stopped coming forward and just got picked off a little bunch. Where like, it could happen with Costa, but like Costa's tenacity against Vettori impressed me a fair bit. Like after round one, it looked like he was about to gas out, but he just kept digging and almost pulled it back. And
I did not like his performance against Rockhold though. Like against Vettori, he showed some good stuff, but he also still gets hit so much. But like Rockhold looked awful. Like Rockhold looked really bad, and he had success in that fight. And even at the end of the round, at the end of the fight, he's on top of him. You know, like I don't know.
And I kind of also feel the same about Whittaker. It's just like I feel like I like Whittaker's style. Like, Whittaker's obviously been a great fighter, but he just rarely covers massive favorite lines to me. Like even you look at his like historical fights. Like he had a bunch of like overly close fights with Uriah Hall and that kind of stuff. Like what, Yoel Romero, 50-50.
I thought he covered versus Vettori and Gastelum. Like
but Vettori, it's because Vettori got scared and Gastelum. Yeah, Vettori and Gastelum, but the punch out too. Everything else just he rarely puts out that big a margin on anybody. I don't know. Again, the cost is not really the fade spot for me, but I'm bearish on both guys, to be honest.
Okay. Ian Gary and Jeff Neal. Gombas, I'll just throw this one to you. You can talk about Ian Gary's struggles like outside the cage. You can talk about the fight, whatever you want to talk about. How do you feel?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'm into like the drama and stuff, but the whole Ian Gary thing doesn't really do it for me for whatever reason. I think, like cage speaking, he's like pretty good striker. I think he's got what's the word I'm looking for? I think he's just like better technically than Jeff Neal. He has a lot less miles on him. I think Neal potentially that last fight probably took something out of him. The only like thing you could say about Gary is that he got dropped by Song Kanong. Like, I guess it could happen here. But I just think he'll be winning minutes. I think he's better defensively. The one thing that I find interesting about this fight is the whole story of the Magny fight was the leg kicks of Ian Gary, and Neil obviously is a southpaw, so that I don't think that dynamic is going to be the same. Neil, his name's Hands of Steel, but I think his high kicks are his best weapon, and I just don't think that's super high percentage. So I'm picking Gary, but not a strong take. I'm never really looking to lay minus 230 unless I think there's like a huge gap, which I just don't think there is here, or if someone's going to proactively grapple. But I am picking Gary.
Yeah. Gugabe.
Yeah, I think Gary's got that process. We'll probably just kind of back foot him. Neil doesn't really have a ton of Neil just kind of gets by on his physicality because it's absolutely insane. Probably more often than not. I think a Neil win's probably a KO. So I can't see Gary losing 2 rounds to Neil without getting killed kind of situation.
Right.
Yeah, I think Gary just goes around backwards and that works. I expect a fairly ho-hum decision where it's Gary 70 strikes, Neil 40 strikes or something. Goes distance. I don't mind goes distance at plus 100, but again, the question's, Neil after the absolute war and Gary being kind of fragile, but I feel like if a Gary decision just feels like the outcome to me.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think one thing I can add is, because I just feel like if Neil doesn't knock him out, I can't pick him to win, so the line's justified, But I will say also, I feel like Neil is better when people come after him, like a Luke or something. And Gary doesn't really do that. Gary will play a technical game. And I think that will probably be the difference in the fight. I don't think Neil's terrible defensively, but I just think Gary's better at controlling range. And he's also got 4 inches of height here. So I think that will probably aid him too. I'm going to pick a decision win. Neil's tough enough, but you never really know. Like a big shot could always land for either guy. Moving on to Merab and Cejudo. I will say, Merab's performance against Peter Yan, it was the greatest performance I've ever seen that went 25 minutes. And you can point to numbers. He attempted 49 takedown attempts, and he attempted 49 takedown attempts and 312 distance strikes. Who's going to beat him in 5 rounds unless they knock him out? That performance was absolutely insane. And I had been on the Merab train since Katona, and I didn't think he was going to beat Yan. So that was the one time I picked against him, and then he just destroyed him. So I'm not even doing it as a thing to say I told you so. I just watched the performance and was like, oh my, I couldn't believe what I was watching. But this it's kind of interesting though. I feel like a 3-round fight with Cejudo is one of his tougher fights. In the I still am going to pick him to win, but I feel like it's a tougher fight for him because I don't think he's going to hold Cejudo down. I think he might be able to mix in a few takedowns, but he struggled getting Aldo down. And I also feel like Sterling, he got some takedowns on Cejudo, but Sterling's very different. He backs you into the cage, and maybe Gombas can talk about this, but he backs you into the cage and kind of uses leverage. Merab doesn't really do that as much. I think it's a lot of open space stuff where Cejudo will probably defend pretty well, given his freestyle background. But then again, when you attempt that many takedowns, I didn't think he was gonna get 12 of 49 takedowns on Yan either, So he could easily get a few takedowns. But and Stamen took down Merab as well. So maybe Cejudo can get a few takedowns and can neutralize the wrestling of Merab to make it a closer fight. So that's why I think this could be a little closer than people think. But Merab's a really underrated striker, and I think he's a better striker. And I'm kind of thinking there's going to be neutralization, and I'm picking Merab to actually win the striking and win the decision in that way. He outlanded Yan 129 to 66 at distance, 91 to 41 to the head. I'd been writing about how his striking was underrated for a while on my site, and then he just showed me it was better than I even thought. And Cejudo's not the best distance striker, and I think that's where Merab might have the advantage, and it might play out there. Gombas, I'll go to you. Do you have anything to add to that? And do you agree or disagree with anything?
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this fight. So first of all, I really like this matchup. For a few reasons. So this is Cejudo's first non-title fight since 2017, which is pretty insane. And I question his motivation at this point for sure. I mean, he's 37 years old, and it's not just 37 years old. That's like wrestling 37 years old, where like his body's been through the ringer for decades. He was a 125 pounder for the majority of his UFC career. He went up to 135, and he kind of had some favorable matchups, in my opinion. Like, I mean, Marlon Moraes ended up losing like 6 in a row after that, and people forget Cejudo kind of struggled early in that fight. Like, obviously, after a certain point, it was all him, but he was the underdog in that fight. You know, he didn't win the first round. This is only a 3-round fight. And also, Merab's just like bigger than him. Merab has a longer reach. He's taller. He's more muscular. He's younger, closer to his prime. His striking stats are better. His cardio pace are obviously unmatched, like superhuman. I think he just is in a different trajectory that Cejudo is. And just overall, I think he's the best fighter in the world. And like I thought Jan was going to beat him, and what he showed me against Jan was absolutely insane. And I think this is probably for his sake, it's a good thing. This is probably his last 3-round fight. If he wins this one, like I can't really see him being in another 3-rounder anytime soon. So I think he gets it done here. I actually think he makes it look convincing too.
Yeah. He honestly might. I just do think like he would make. I do think Cejudo at least has a chance to defend takedowns better than other guys. Yeah. But I also agree with everything you said. And it's like after watching that Jan fight, I'm never gonna pick against Merab after, especially in a 5-rounder. But like, how can you pick against that? I mean, it was insane. But
Gugabe, the best part. You know the best part about betting Merab on this card.
What?
You get to do it twice, once at 135 and once at 185.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're saying. We'll be talking about that fight next. Then, all right, Gugabe, you have anything to add?
Honestly, not really. For some reason, I thought this was a 5-rounder. I'm not sure why I thought it was a 5-rounder, but when I first saw it, I just kind of thought it was some sort of.
It was at one point. Like the first time they booked it, yeah.
Yeah, all right, that'd be why. Yeah, I mean. I can see how Cejudo would have tools to make it a little bit harder on Merab than other people have. Like Merab has struggled, yeah. Like Casey Kenny gave Merab a little bit to deal with. Like it's not impossible. So yeah, price seems about right to me. Like I agree, Merab has massive upside. If somebody's covering by a lot, it's probably Merab.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if it was 5-rounder, I'd probably take the price. But as is, I'm kind of like, yeah, it's fine to me. Yeah, should be fun war. Yeah.
I think what Gombas was alluding to earlier, and now we got Fluffy and Kopylov. I hit Fluffy at -170. It's not like the thing is I've generally liked Kopylov, like, but he's got decent first layer takedown defense, but when he's actually grounded, he's a fish. And I just feel like Fluffy's eventually going to get him with the cardio. You know, I do think Kopylov will make me sweat a little early for a couple minutes, but it's like if it doesn't result in the finish, I don't think it's going to matter. Like I think he could be winning the first few minutes of the fight, but I think eventually he's going to get taken down and beat up. And he also gets backed up into the cage a lot. And even when he was defending some takedowns against other guys, I think Fluffy will take advantage of that and eventually get him down. And Kopylov lands like a body kick or something, but Fluffy pressures enough to where I think those kicks can get stifled. But I feel like if Kopylov doesn't knock him out in the first few minutes, I think he's going to get melted. And people forget Duraev was -400 against him. And Fluffy's better than Duraev, and he's, so I cap this -3 to 400 personally. A finish could happen. It's MMA, but I think Fluffy wins this more often than the line indicates. Gugabe, what do you feel?
I bet Kopylov against Duraev, and I'm still annoyed about that. Between the refereeing malpractice and like if that fight was booked for the first time tomorrow, Kopylov would be -250, and I got +300 on him. And I'm not saying Kopylov -250 against Duraev right now would be accurate, but it's funny how much market sentiment does flip in this sport, legitimately. Yeah, Hernandez should eventually run him over, but Kopylov hits hard enough and goes to the body, and Hernandez has a glass body. I remember many years ago,
he does. Yeah.
my bet MMA, one of my biggest bet MMA bet of all time was 8 units on what's his name, Brazilian dude,
Marcus Perez.
Marcus Perez.
That's what I said.
That's what he said.
I bet that too. That's funny.
Yeah, I put 8 units on Marcus Perez at plus 250, which was a perfect bet, which has aged perfectly, and there was never any doubt at either the other. So I've always had a soft spot for Hernandez getting kicked in the body. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Tim's take, but personally, I don't want to bet minus 250 when there's a good chance there is a possibility he just gets killed.
He could get hurt to the body. Like, he's been hurt there before. Kopylov has a good body kick, but I also think the pressure, it's still got to get done early, like, regardless, you know? So it's like, whatever. Gombas, I think you're on the fluffy train here.
There's only one thing that you said that I disagree with, like, in your entire summary. I don't think he's going to make you sweat for a few minutes. I think Hernandez is going to shoot within 10 seconds, 15 seconds, because Kopylov's going to put his back to the fence like he always does. And then from there, I think it's on. Like, a lot of people are talking like Kopylov has this improved grappling defense. Look at who he's fought. And, like, even Josh Fremd was, like, getting in on the legs. And also, I just want to point out on the feet, Claudio Ribeiro won that first round against him. Yeah. And also, Fremd, like, lost clearly, but he was competitive until, like, he got his eye or nose or whatever was hurt. Yeah.
Fluffy's tricky with his, like, elbows in close quarters, too. Like, I was kind of watching that because I was trying to, like, see if he could – I was trying to project the chances of him getting hurt. And I was like, oh, he actually might bother Kopylov with the pressure and those, like, elbows off the break, too. But, like, I feel like Kopylov has – the thing with Kopylov is he gasses whenever you grapple him. If you strike – if you just strike with him, like – he has pretty good cardio, but if you grapple with him, and like Hernandez will destroy you. And like the fact that he was getting Shabazian down in round 1, and Shabazian probably is harder to get down fresh than Kopylov, just makes me think he'll probably just get Kopylov down. I could see Kopylov defending a couple times, especially in the bigger cage, but eventually I just feel like he's going to get wrecked. And like on the mat, it's going to get ugly. Like, it's going to get really ugly. And I'm guessing a second or third round finish for Fluffy, but Kopylov's just going to have to finish him. Are there any other fights you guys like want to talk about, or anyone in the comments? I guess we can talk about Dern Lemos. Like, Dern is the hardest fighter to cap in WMMA. Like, I mean, because she has such inconsistent performances. Like the Ribas fight, like, because against Andrade, I was like, I know she looked amazing versus Hill, but she might just get sprawl and brawled and beat up. Like it happened versus Ribas, it happened versus Andrade. Like, she's looked really bad in some fights because her striking's not all that great and her takedowns aren't that good. So there's always that concern. But then, like, she's had some performances where I'm like, whoa, she looked great. Like, I thought against Angela Hill, she looked really, really good. And yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like at least Lemos will kind of like not go after you as much. Like, she'll play a little lower volume of a game. So maybe like someone like Andrade just will try to kill you, you know, and really make you uncomfortable. So I feel like Dern might have a little more room to like be aggressive and not get stifled too much. But this is a tough one. This is a tough one. I don't know. I just like struggle with Dern. Do you have a read here, Gombas?
So I bet Andrade against Dern, and I went into tape thinking I was gonna like Lemos. But the way she like flopped to her back against Zhang was like genuinely disturbed. It wasn't even anything Zhang was doing. Like, she was just voluntarily like flopping to her back. So I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah, I picked Dern here. I did because stuff like that. I was like, I just feel like Dern's aggression might result on her getting that. And the thing is, like, when is Lemos really? Lemos doesn't always pull away in fights, where Dern really can just instantly finish you or just like really dominate. But yeah, and I feel like Dern could just like hurt her too, you know, just like go in. Like, Dern's always got that in her back pocket. But I don't know. Like, I picked Dern just because like I feel like she has that huge advantage on the mat, and so that's kind of like why I'm like, you have that X factor. I'm gonna pick you for that reason. But it's still, I don't know the last time I like picked a Dern fight correct. You know, like I think there was a couple like against like Marcos, like some obvious ones, but generally I'm just like, I don't know. Like, Gugabe, what are you feeling here?
The under's not bad in my opinion. I just checked it. I didn't realize it was like semi-playable. Under 2.5 minus 130. Fight's pretty definitionally binary. Lemos hits very hard, and but again, like I understand, like Dane can get hit, but like Andrade has takedown defense. Lemos does not. Like Lemos just got 50-44 by fucking Weili Zhang grappling, which is an embarrassment to everybody involved. Like Weili Zhang could not grapple. Dare not pass. Like I understand the pass, but like, dare not pass.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dern, I agree, but like I feel like because I picked her now, she's just gonna get like sparked or something because I've never got right. She's my Divas and Figueiredo. I don't think I've generally picked Moreno recently, but like there was a run where I think I missed every one of his fights in a row.
Lemos is generally up in the division. You just had like two like all-time beats back-to-back. Like the Lemos Hill decision was a travesty, and then you have Lemos Waterson where like she was getting owned, and then she just like hits this dude with this guillotine.
Yeah.
What more can you say? What more can you say?
Yeah. Well, I don't have anything else to talk about. I don't really feel like talking about the prelims. Sorry, but Gombas.
Dilema half is funny.
What's up?
Maybe the Dilema first half was funny. Finally, will we see Tafa on his back at long last?
Of course, you have to talk about this fight. Go ahead.
Justin Tafa is maybe he's improved his grappling, but it's pretty clear to anybody who had eyeballs that Tafa is like historically bad off his back. And Dilema has all the tools, but like again, Dilema is a guy who probably has all the tools to be a top 5 heavyweight if he ever put his shit together, but refuses to, and then occasionally gets flying meat like Derek Lewis because that's just how he rolls.
That's a sketchy fight. That's a very sketchy fight.
I mean, Dilema's got all the tools to fuck him up. Like, Dilema kind of owned Acosta, and Acosta seems like one of the better prospects in the wild, to be honest, at heavyweight. And I think Dilema minus 140 seems like a bet to me, but also like he will find some way of making it harder than it needs to be. It just feels like this card just goes off a cliff where it's like first 7 fights are like reasonable name value. Like Lemos Dern is like these are like B's and B pluses. Then it's like Lima Tafa, which is like C. Then it's just like fucking F's from there on. Like the prelims just plunge into nowhere.
Yeah. Gombas, do you want to talk about Dilema Tafa, or do you want to go?
I do want to talk about that.
All right, go ahead.
Because it's actually really funny. I didn't notice this, but recently I looked through my Bet MMA. I've bet on Dilema more than any other fighter in like my time betting. Isn't that hilarious? Like Ben Sassoli, Waldo Cortez Acosta, but like it's just hilarious. I think I've bet on him like 8 times or something like that. And I think the only one now I lost against Ivanov and then I lost against Lewis, but I think I'm like 6-2 or 7-2 or something betting on him. The thing about Tafa is he's 3 first-round knockouts in a row against Hunsucker, Porter, and Austin Lane. And before that, he was losing decisions to Jared Vandera and Carlos Felipe. Like, I genuinely think Tafa is, like, pretty bad. It's just tough, like, because he does have power. And kind of like the Neil Gary fight where Dilema typically his low kicks are a huge advantage on the feet. And because of the switch stances here, like, I don't think he'll have that as a weapon. But, I mean, one takedown could be the fight here.
Yeah, I think one thing that isn't talked about Tafa enough is, like, his takedown defense is 100%, but he hasn't fought any grapplers at all. Yeah. And before that Adams fight, Adams didn't attempt a takedown because he's stupid. But Gugabe and I had found some of his regional tape when he actually gets grounded, and he has no idea what he's doing. So, like, he has, like, he's decently, like, I guess he's got like a strong center of gravity. He can stop takedowns against lower tier guys, but like he's going to get fucking exposed there at some point. And like Dilema might do it, so he could be the guy to do it. So
I think Dilema is his hardest fight ever in the UFC.
Well, he's a dual threat too. He can strike and grapple too, but
Dilema, if he put his shit together, could legitimately be a good heavyweight. Obviously, he's old at this point, and every time he gets a step up, he shits himself. But like Dilema has a lot of plus tools. it's all wrapped together in a very shitty. Like the wrapping paper was very awful, but like, yeah, I was like Tuivasa was like a top 6 heavyweight like last year. De Lima is a lot better than Tuivasa.
Yeah, a lot better.
Like it's heavyweight. It's a very absurd place. Like legit. Like Lima, if Lima put together the right run, like Lima has had like a bunch of UFC fights. He's probably only had one where he's probably been hindsight underdog. It was like Krylov. Even Romanov. Like in hindsight, I'd probably take De Lima over Romanov.
It's funny you say that because like the one time I didn't bet on De Lima, it was against Romanov, and I was thinking about this today. Like if they fought next week, like I probably would bet on him against Romanov, wouldn't you?
Yeah, plus 430. Plus 430. And I've got to take that. Like De Lima was plus 430 against everybody.
Yeah.
Like you get me De Lima plus 430 against like. I take De Lima plus 430 against pretty much everybody apart from like maybe like Blades or some shit. Even then.
I would take him at plus 430 against Blades for sure.
Even like, pretty much.
Okay, well, I'm gonna end it there. I have to be somewhere in like 12 minutes. But Gombas, thanks for joining. Are you doing everyone who knows your pod with Magic, but are you doing that later this week? We can plug that. Yeah,
hopefully Friday. Magic's gonna be at the fight, so
isn't he in America right now? Just like I saw pictures at gun ranges and stuff. He's just going nuts right now.
Yeah, with his finger on the trigger, taking a picture. Hopefully Friday at 9. Friday at 9. Hopefully we'll do our podcast. But thanks for having me as always. Make sure you guys like and subscribe and enjoy the fights this week.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Gombas, and thank you, Gugabe.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks for listening.